G'day again, Year 11, and welcome to another YouTube lesson. Today we're taking a look at management approaches, and this is the second subtopic of business management. We're going to be taking a look at the classical scientific approach to management today, and in future lessons we'll be taking a look at the behavioural approach to management, and then following that, the contingency approach to management. So classical approach, as it says in the syllabus, or scientific approach, or merged, same thing, tomato, tomato, classical scientific approach. You'll hear them said the same approach in three different ways. Under the classical approach, you have a number of different indicators to tell you that it is part of the classical approach. A way to define it, and if it's an essay, for your yearly exam, which often is the case, to be able to describe what you see with a classical scientific manager, someone like Steve Jobs. In terms of a classical approach, a manager is a planner. They organize their resources and control those resources. They don't have a flat structure or a team-based structure. Under classical scientific, they have a hierarchical organizational structure, and they also have an autocratic leadership style, and we'll get in and explain each of those in a bit more depth very soon. Now, in terms of a manager as a planner, under classical scientific approach, management has three roles. They have to plan, to organize, and to control. That's the first way you'll define classical scientific management approach. Planning refers to setting goals and deciding on the methods to best achieve them. There are three periods that a business would plan for, three different time periods. They are the operational, which are day to day, the tactical, between 1 and 2 years, and the strategic time frame, which is 3 or more years. So again, the first step of a classical scientific manager is to plan how you're going to allocate your resources. An example of this could be a business's plan to improve its quality by 10% over the next 5 years. It's also stated it wants to implement greater quality control, e.g. taste testing and so on. The next step of a classical scientific manager is to organising. Organising under a classical scientific approach to management refers to the process of arranging the resources of the business to achieve the business's goals. For example, a business has already planned to improve its quality, as I said before, by 10% over the next 5 years. It's also stated it wants to implement greater quality control. As I mentioned earlier, taste testing. Organising would involve the manager assigning workers to this role in resources and equipment, physical resources, in order to make this occur. So they are organising all of the resources at their disposal, like an evil mad scientist, and people are doing this, you do that, and so on. Okay? The following step of a classical scientific manager, you're going to be sick of me saying classical scientific manager, but tough, might stick in your noggin. Controlling. Controlling refers to the process of evaluating and modifying tasks to ensure that the set goals are being achieved. So you've planned, you've organised, put your minions into work, and now you are evaluating. Did that work? Did that not work? And you are modifying their tasks to make sure that those goals that you set out in your plan can be achieved. So in the above example that I've been giving, a business would test to see if quality is actually improving. If it is working, they may expand the quality controlling across all areas of the business. If it's not, the business may change to a new strategy. All right, so there's those three key aspects of a classical scientific manager. They are what? See if you can recall them without looking at any notes. Starts with P, to plan. Classical scientific manager also what? Starts with O, organize. A classical scientific manager also what? Starts with C, they control. Following that, you also see a very hierarchical organizational structure. So a classical scientific approach to management, it's like a pyramid. It's a hierarchy. And a school's a very good example of somewhat an outdated method with all these different levels and layers. Now this is done because under the theory, it's believed that all workers should have a strong chain of command, and the work is specialized. You do what you do and you do it well, and you're like a robot or machine. So the workers can improve their efficiency. A bit boring though. So in terms of a school, let's have a think about that hierarchical structure, because you're going to spend some time when you're writing your essay being able to explain the classical scientific approach to management and how hierarchies work. That's a big part of that. So in a school, you have the principal, you have a few deputies, depending on the size of the school. Following that, you have each deputy will have like 5 head teachers. Another deputy will have 5 head teachers, and so on. Then each head teacher, between 5 and 8 teachers, thereabouts, that they look after as well. All right, so it's a big set, long chain of command that spreads out. And that's another major feature there of this classical scientific approach. All right, the last part that we see, and you can see again we're using the language of the syllabus. Autocratic leadership style. That's what's used for the classical scientific approach to management. Managers who adopt a strict classical approach usually show an autocratic leadership style. What is this? A manager using an autocratic leadership style tends to make all the decisions. Seen some of those in my time, and don't look at me and think I'm an autocratic leader. Do your damn work. Learn that stuff. They dictate work methods. I don't do that. I don't tell you what things you have to do. No. They limit workers' knowledge. Well, some students limit their own. And what needs to be done to the next step to be performed. They frequently check the workers' performance and sometimes give punitive feedback. Doesn't sound like me at all. Autocratic managers generally provide clear directions and directives by telling the worker what to do. They don't listen, and they don't permit any employee input. This is not a behavioural approach. You do what I say. This style of management controls the people, the workers, employees in the business closely and monitors and threatens through disciplinary action. All right, guys. Thanks again for listening to another YouTube clip, and I'll see you next time.